Hello everybody, this is the Streaming Teacher and today I'm talking about project management. These are the slides I was using when I was the Program Director of the Project Management Master at International Business School Suzhou. I resigned at the start of the 2019-2020 term and have since then worked at a number of universities around the globe. At the end of 2021 I started my new journey, but now let's talk about project management. And I want to begin with looking at what project management actually is and why we need it in the modern world. We will be starting with some definitions of project management, look at where does it come from, what is the history of project management, and then look more at the strategic component of project management, namely at the issues we are currently facing in the modern world. Now, the two largest organizations in project management, PMI in the US and APM in the UK, define project management very similarly. And you can see these definitions here on the slide. They have been updated, of course, but all of these definitions, even when you go beyond these two organizations, are describing project management as a temporary effort outside the normal scope of the business, which uses a team in order to achieve a unique, very well defined goal within a certain time. But project management is not a new venture. The first time the term project was used was possibly the Manhattan Project in 1942 to 1946 that developed the nuclear bomb for the American Air Force, or as it was then called, Army Air Force. More than 100,000 people with a budget of $2 billion, a huge amount at that time, were tasked with the development of a weapon that could end the war not only in Europe but with Japan. But we can have many views on how successful this project was. Now, when we look at the organizational chart, we can see that the whole organization was pretty complicated and there were a lot of people involved at all levels of this project. Very interestingly, the boss of this project were not the scientists or even the president. It was Major General Groves who was put in charge in order to lead this project. But projects are as old as humanity. Not only the Manhattan Project or a project such as building or constructing the first A380 Airbus. No, neither the Great Wall of China nor the pyramids in Egypt would have been built with some form of project management. And when we look at the turn of the 20th century, the Eiffel Tower, the Panama Canal, all these construction efforts were managed with some form of project management. And maybe we didn't call it that, but it definitely used very similar structures. Now, the main contributors in modern project management since the 1940s was the United States Department of Defense and NASA, with the Department of Defense releasing in 1967 the PERT, Cost and EVM framework that basically described this is how you are running projects when you are working for us. And since the 1970s, we have seen an increasing business focus and the first appearance of agile project management. We're going to look at some of the reasons, but in short, while budgets were increasing, so was the length of projects and so was the failure rate. Now, what is not a project? All kind of tasks that we do within normal business operations on a daily basis are not projects. So your marketing questionnaire to find out about the market, that's not a project. We call it a project, but that doesn't necessarily mean it is a formal project. There are many informal projects or organizational tasks that we are running on an everyday basis that benefit from a project management approach and a thorough development of processes. For example, creating the iPad is a project. Commercially producing it is not. Designing a new plane is a project. Commercially building and selling it is not. When we look at the importance of project management and type in project management into a popular search engine, we find millions and millions of results. We can find the perception that projects have been expanding and become more and more important in all kinds of firms, be it in automotive, as Midler describes, in aerospace, space exploration, or in everyday routine, where we use project management approaches in order to systemize and categorize and streamline operations. Global infrastructure projects in 2012 were amounting to more than $4 trillion. And that goes to show how important project management and the frameworks are that we are using in order to complete things in the modern world. Unfortunately, we also continuously report about wastage of resources in projects and that IT project failure rates are 70% and above. Why is project management so important for the modern firm? Now, first of all, we have much shorter project life cycles or product life cycles. Every year we get the new Galaxy, the new iPhone, the new this, the new that. And with the sheer explosion of knowledge that we share around the world through globalization, and at the same time, companies have been downsizing their employee base, you can see that fewer people need to complete more and more complicated tasks in a much shorter time. In addition to that, customers demanding more than products nowadays. They want you to do more in terms of social responsibility, protect the planet, and even small projects can lead to big problems in any firm. Strategic project management is the result of these considerations, because time, cost, and quality, finishing your project in time, within the budget, and to the specifications is no longer good enough. Not for the customer, not for the rest of the world. If we don't innovate as an organization, we are falling behind in the competition. Standing still is going backwards. And after all, we are all competing for the same resources on this planet. And there are so many ways how we could get an advantage in the competition, leading to so many projects that we could do and that we are doing without really having the necessary resources and personnel to accomplish them. When we look at the situation of the organization, then we must conclude that we cannot do all projects. We need to prioritize. We need to choose those projects that positively contribute to our organizational strategy. And we need an independent function in the organization that organizes, manages, and helps selecting these projects. And we call that department a project management office. When we look at modern project management, there's two trends that we can see. First of all, we see the rise of the project management office. Everybody seems to have one nowadays. But when we look a little bit closer and look at Wellington's annual survey, we can see that a lot of PMOs are not doing what PMOs are supposed to be doing. Nonetheless, a PMO will always attempt to professionalize the execution side of the project management. This is where we do the actual work. So we can say that project management in a modern form should contain two sides of the story. Number one, a strategic side for decision making and a professional expertise on the actual subject matter when the project is being executed. Looking at the track record, we cannot abandon project management. We also can't leave it to amateurs. If it is a strategic exercise, we need to place it at the strategic level. We need a strategic project management office and maintain governance as well as best practices as known through professionals at every level of the organization. Now, how does this work? And you can see in this image from one of my presentations that we are analyzing the business environment constantly. And if we are doing this via a level 3 PMO at the strategic level, we can develop our intended strategy and minimize the influence that changes in the business environment has on that strategy, so that our realized strategy is much more similar to the intended strategy than if we are walking blind. If we add on a lessons learned review after every project, we can then reflect on why have these changes in the project happened? How did they impact on our intended strategy, and how can we incorporate these lessons in our strategic analysis so that our intended strategy is much more attuned to reality than what it was before? It is also the question, do you want to take orders in the project or do you want to give them? It's the Project Management Association that decide what project management and professionalism in project management is. It is not you. And if you are not professional and professionally acting in a project or in an organization per se, you will be the one that takes the order, not giving them. Now a few words about programs and projects. A program is when we collate several related projects that are being executed over a certain period of time in order to achieve a business goal. And one of the examples I can immediately give you is passing a module is a project, passing your degree is a program, and if you want to go even to another level and the top of this, look at your portfolio, which is your career. Another example that one of my colleagues has been using, a cure for any kind of cancer would be a program. A treatment for a certain kind of cancer can be described as a project. Now, but who is the project manager? He is the person in charge of the performance and the success of the project. He takes responsibility for the project team, organizes and coordinates the resources that the team should have at their disposal. The project manager is also the person that is directly linked to the customer. They are the ones talking to the customer and all other stakeholders. And what we need is the right person at the right time, doing the right things in the right way. Any form of unprofessional behavior or action will jeopardize the success of the project. Your problem as a project manager is that you're being told this is the project, whether it's a good idea or not. You are being told these are the resources that you have in order to execute the project, whether they are suitable and enough or not. Management of the organization makes the decisions for you, but you are the one that is getting blamed. Looking at the project lifecycle and the level of effort that we need to make is, a lot of people think that this is a true reflection of all the kinds of projects, and it is actually not. If we don't do well in the defining phase of the project, we are starting off on the wrong foot and set up for failure. Execution may be a lot of the workload of the actual project, and planning can help to alleviate that. But the main effort, the prime effort, should be made as early as possible in the defining and planning phase. If you can see at these early stages, this is going to be a disaster, stop. Don't waste your time. Don't throw good money after bad one. And this is one of the contemporary issues we are looking at. We have two choices. Everybody knows the basics of how to be organized and how to manage their time, right? So why do we need project managers and project management? The other idea is we need to elevate project management to the strategic level. And we have seen elevation to the strategic level is a problem that we have been facing for years and decades, and we can't seem to be making it. And yet every year we are saying this is what we should be doing. Now, if everybody has these skills, why do we have 70+% failure rates in projects? Why do we waste consistently 13% of the budget? And yes, this number has been consistent over many, many years. We could also ask the question, why do apparently smart people make such stupid mistakes? And three items that I can come up with is absolute complacency, amateurism, and the Dunning-Kruger effect. Now, the first fact that might be surprising you is that people that call themselves project managers but are completely unqualified run to about 60 to 80% of people involved in projects. Now, why does that happen? Why do we let amateurs, or why do amateurs take the stage? First of all, we don't have enough people that are running projects. And the general attitude seems to be, oh, project management, that looks good on my CV, so I put it on. Or that, oh, I can learn that on the job. And quality of project managers is not a matter of life and death. Well, I would say otherwise. I have always used the example of, I don't know about you, but I wouldn't fly in a 737 MAX, would you? Another item that is severely impacting project success is any form of attitude that says, oh, we did this before, we do this in a certain way. And when you go to the other side of the equation, how project managers are trained or educated, we seem to have a very laissez-faire educational style that doesn't really look at the situation of adhering to proven standards, making decision criteria, making evaluation criteria, and then sticking to them. We let a lot of things just happen and go away. Are we then really surprised about the result? We get exactly the result that we are setting ourselves up for. Exactly that. Now let's do an exercise on how we can fix this. What is the route to success? And some people say, well, the basis of all success is talent. No, it is not. You can be the most talented person in the world. If you do not use your talent, it is wasted. Luck. My experience shows me there is no such thing as luck. If you have well planned, if you have anticipated all the kind of opposition and obstacles that you can face, then nothing can surprise you. Obviously, that is very difficult in a very dynamic environment. Nonetheless, while the plan is useless, planning is essential. If you run through plans multiple times and look at how can we turn X into a success, you will never be on the wrong foot. You will always have an idea of how to fix things that happen on the way. A lot of people, especially when I was teaching in China, were relying on their network or guanxi. Now let's talk about that. What is guanxi? Do you really think that anyone will be throwing away money just because of guanxi? No. Like any kind of business relationship, there comes a point where the damage you are taking is much higher than the benefit, and you will stop it. Very interesting also when I ask all of my students, would you hire someone that is completely incompetent for what you are hiring them for? And the answer is always a resounding, no, I won't. When I ask the question the other way around, or why should I hire you because you don't have what it takes, I get all kinds of excuses of why that does not apply to them. It will be critical for people to understand that these situations are the actual same, and it's just our perspective that has changed. Competence is the decision criteria, not whether that is you or another person. Skill, knowledge, and experience, they are important. But one thing that is even more important in order to build those skills, to attain this knowledge and to gain this experience, discipline. If you are not disciplined and keep training and keep learning and keep trying to get better, you will stand still while the world moves on. And if you want to choose one single feat in order to have good outcomes at all times, attitude. If you have the wrong attitude, you can be the most talented, the most lucky person in the world with the biggest guanxi and network that has ever been seen in humankind. If you will not be able to achieve the skills, the knowledge, the experience because you have the wrong attitude. A lot of times people come to me many years later and say, well, yes, that was right. The sooner you learn this lesson, the sooner your career and your life can take off. Look in the mirror and look at the most important project that you will ever be managing. You can manage this good with discipline and with the right attitude, or you can run from failure to failure. The choice is entirely yours. Now in the next session we are going to talk about organizational context and how it impacts on how we are running projects. Thank you very much for the attention. Please prepare the corresponding chapters for the next session and see you soon.